Hey, what's up, friends? I saw an article headline today that reads, "Buyers and sellers change plans as inflation intensifies." And per usual, I feel like this is a media headline meant to terrify more than it is to clarify. So I thought today's a great opportunity to talk about how home ownership and how real estate investing is a phenomenal hedge against that scary word, inflation. Stay tuned.
Keep it real, I keep it real, I keep it real, just keep it real.
Hey, it's Sam Hartman. As always, we're keeping it real estate, and today we are talking about home ownership as a hedge against inflation. And so I mentioned this article headline that I saw recently. I read the article, and it pulls a lot of home buyers and sellers that are kind of emotionally reacting to the news of inflation and inflation increasing. And so these home buyers and sellers are making decisions whether to buy or sell their house sooner, or buy and sell later, or put their search on hold. And all of these are responses, they're emotional responses to information that they don't really have context with. So today what we're going to do is we are going to look at some quotes from experts in the real estate field, much more tenured than myself. And we're also going to look at historic data and really see how inflation and how home values and home price appreciation can be affected of each other, and how, again, home ownership is a phenomenal hedge against inflation. So let's dive right into it. So the first quote I'm going to pull up here is from Ben Carlson, portfolio manager with Ritholtz Wealth Management. And he says, "Housing is one of the most effective hedges against inflation. Investing is not just about building wealth, it's also about not destroying wealth. Even a small return above the rate of inflation over the long term on a place you would like to live is a pretty sweet deal." So what Ben's saying is home ownership is not just an investment that can appreciate and grow over time. It's an investment in a place that you want to live. And something that he doesn't mention that I think kind of comes into view here is when you buy a home, you are getting a fixed interest rate. So one of the biggest expenses for most people is living expenses, their rent, their mortgage, things like that. And so when you buy a home, you have that fixed interest rate, so you know your mortgage payment is fixed. You're not going to have a landlord that's raising rent on you, changing things from year to year, month to month, term to term. So again, a great opportunity to build wealth and not destroy it, like Ben says. Next, Mark Kuhn, a financial writer with Investopedia, he says, "Real estate is one of the time-honored inflation hedges. It's a tangible asset, and those tend to hold their value when inflation reigns, unlike paper assets. More specifically, as prices rise, so do property values." And we're going to look more in depth at the history of that, how inflation rises and how property values increase over time as well, and how they kind of correlate to that. Oh, lovely. And there's my wife and son. Hey buddy. So here we go. Let's look at the inflation rate and how home price appreciation has kind of been correlated to rising inflation rates over the years. We're going to go back decade by decade, back to the 1970s. And so as you can see, ever since the 1970s, we really only see one decade, the 2000s, where home price appreciation did not quite meet the inflation rate as well. So looks like the 80s was right step in step with it. The 2000s was just a bit below, but every other decade, again, home ownership price appreciation actually exceeded the rate of inflation. So again, this is one of the big historic contextual data points that we're going to look at and see and help us show that actually home ownership investing, rentals, things like that are a great hedge against that inflation. Another quote here we're going to say from James Royal. He's a senior wealth management reporter with Bankrate. And this touches a little bit on what I said earlier about that fixed rate mortgage. A fixed rate mortgage allows you to maintain the biggest portion of housing expenses at the same payment. Sure, property taxes will rise, other expenses may creep up, but your monthly housing payment remains the same. That's certainly not the case if you're renting. And I don't know if you've heard, but rent has actually skyrocketed over the last year. It's actually had a 17+% increase nationwide, and that is no small chunk of change. So what James is saying here is that fixed rate mortgage helps you keep a fixed housing payment, which is, again, a huge part of that hedge against inflation. So here's another graph that kind of further shows that point of the inflation rate, but also looking at how rental price appreciation changes in lockstep with appreciation rate. Now, when you own a home and inflation happens and price appreciation happens, they kind of go hand in hand. You're benefiting from that growth because your home value is appreciation. That's the hedge. But here with inflation and rental prices, when inflation increases and rent increases, you don't get that same benefit. You're just paying more out of pocket to a landlord, to a property manager to basically pay for them to benefit from the price appreciation and from the inflation increases as well. So again, locking in that fixed interest rate, keeping that housing payment steady and fixed over the life of your loan, 30 years, 15 years, whatever it is a huge benefit, huge hedge against inflation. So to further drive home that point, Natalie Campisi, advisor staff of Forbes, says homeowners are shielded from mounting rental prices because their cost is fixed, regardless of what's happening in the market. Tangible assets like real estate get more valuable over time, which makes buying a home a good way to spend your money during inflationary times. One more quote kind of in that same vein from Ali Wolf, chief economist with Zonda. If you have cash and are expecting inflation, you want to think where you can put your money so it does not lose value. Housing is commonly looked at as a good inflation hedge, especially when interest rates are low. And interest rates are low, hovering right around 3 to 3.25%. Anywhere kind of in there is what we're seeing right now. So this part is kind of directed towards maybe people that have some expendable investment income, that maybe investing in housing could be a great hedge. But for those of you that maybe don't have that extra income but are just renting, buying your first home, making the next move, all are great hedges against inflation because you are fixing that housing cost. You are buying an asset that is expected to appreciate over time, and all recent over 5-year projections are saying so here for us now. So I hope this information is helpful, guys. I hope this takes away the terrify and puts in the clarify for you. That's really what I want to do, is provide education, provide information to help create clarity, because when you have clarity, then you have a lot of confidence in the decisions that you make, whether it's to buy real estate, whether it's to sell real estate. And that's what I want to instill in you, is confidence, and empower you to make the best real estate decisions possible. Thanks for sticking with me, guys. Again, it's Sam Hartman, Keeping It Real Estate. Don't hesitate to ever reach out with your questions. I am happy to help. It is one of the greatest joys in my life and my career, is getting to help people through one of the most convoluted, expensive, difficult decision-making processes they'll ever make in their lives, which is buying and selling a home. So thanks for sticking with me today. God bless. Have a great day, everybody.